Hey everyone! So, this episode we will be discussing what beauty standards are and why they exist. We will be diving into how beauty standards vary within the different cultures represented today and how society might react in accordance to the existing beauty standards. I am incredibly excited to hear about the different roots of beauty standards and what our speakers' opinions are. This is in no way meant to be offensive or disrespectful to cultures. The objective of this episode is to have the discussion about the why and how beauty standards are perceived in different parts of the world. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Once again, introducing our representative speakers.
I'm Dan Young representing South Korea.
I'm Yedam, also representing South Korea.
I'm Sana speaking for Poland.
And I'm AK speaking for India.
And of course, myself for China. Okay, guys. So, the first question or topic that I wanted to get into is, what is the definition of beauty standards for you in a personal context and in comparison to the broader context represented? Let's start with Poland.
Well, I think my definition is the same as like the general one. So it's the typical body image and looks that are displayed in media and considered the standard for what is desirable or beautiful through a community. And personally, I disagree with beauty standards, but I think they're like destructive and dangerous. But one thing that is good about them, I think, is that they can portray the culture, and in the way they can like unite countries, but only if they are like the original and traditional beauty standards, not influenced by media or other countries.
True. Very true. South Korea?
I think beauty standard means what society decides for people on how to look in order to look pretty or handsome. Yeah.
And like adding on, I think, I completely agree with Yedam. But, there's like some trends in the beauty standards. Like I once saw a video that had all the typical, like what was considered beautiful or handsome, like by the like 1980s, 1990s and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then you can actually see like the 1950s beauty standards is like completely different from the modern day, what's perceived as beautiful and handsome in the modern days. So yeah, that was really interesting for me.
I personally find confidence very beautiful. Like I think it gives you like the ability to fit in anywhere and do whatever you want. And I think that's what beauty is about. But I also think that if we appreciate someone or something, we tend to easily find beauty in them. So I guess it's about the mindset a person has.
But I think that's a really good point, that it's not just the physical appearance, but the like the personality is also
Yeah, the
can be a beauty
internal
standard, right?
internal beauty.
Yeah.
In a broad perspective, beauty standards is to be perceived as attractive or beautiful in the eyes of oneself or others. The standard of beauty is essentially a variable standard of what it means to be attractive that is contingent on the feminine beauty ideals that are present in a given culture. But personally, as AK mentioned, quite similarly, I think the way a person thinks and the actions they make are ultimately what determine beauty for me, and the intentions and reactions of a person, as well as the growth that one undergoes, is beautiful for me. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
The second topic is, what is considered beautiful in your country and what are your personal opinions on these beauty standards? So, for example, face features, body shape, etc. Is it just appearance or what?
In Poland, beauty standards aren't really talked about that much compared to what I see on like social media in the US, I think. But an example is like being skinny, clear skin, being tall. That's for both women and men. And then for women, it's small waist, long legs. Also, smaller noses are preferred over like long or wide noses. And the nose bump is considered not beautiful, I guess. And personally, like I don't agree with any of them, but my biggest problem I think is with the nose bump, because I don't know who decided that that's not beautiful. I think it's actually really, I don't know. That's like that one,
Bizarre.
right? Because it's actually really beautiful. So who? Okay. But then there's also like full lips, big eyes, long eyelashes. Like the perfect woman, I guess, would be long blonde hair and blue eyes.
Oh.
And as for, yeah,
I mean, when I perceive the Western world, like, I think most people say like having blonde hair and blue eyes
Right,
are like
yeah.
the typical, beautiful person. So that's why like a lot of people dye their hair, right? Even though they
Yeah,
have
I
like
think so.
brownish hair, they kind of want their hair to be like blonde and stuff.
yeah. But
So-
I don't know where it came from, because now that's a beauty standard in many Western countries, right? But I don't think like even I don't know like 100 years ago this wasn't like brown hair was beautiful in Poland. So it's weird to see how it changed so quickly, I guess.
Mm.
Very stereotypical.
Right?
South Korea?
So for South Korea, I think it's really similar to like other countries. People really like high nose, without nose bump, as what you Poland said. And yeah, Korean people really like white skin, like pale skin, I think. And then yeah, big eyes, and like even if they have like a monolid, they like prefer the eye that doesn't cover like they prefer the lid that doesn't cover the eye, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
So big
Yeah, I
eyes.
think
Mm.
Yes, big eyes. So and good proportion of body. So like they really like look at how the long leg is, and then like short upper body and like small face. And I realized that they like prefer really like extreme skinny. Yeah.
So I just wanted to ask, what is a good proportion of a body? Who decided if it is
Oh.
a good proportion?
Like if you look at a person and then she has a long leg and then short like upper body. No, upper.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think that's
Wait,
a good
you can
proportion.
actually like measure your proportion. We kind of when you like stand tall, right? Like
Actually, yeah.
I
'cause
can do
you know,
like with your
Yeah.
fingers. You can see how like big your face is, and then you can count down how many faces fit into your
Yeah.
whole body.
but the thing is,
And-
right? A lot of people have been saying that symmetry is beauty. Have you guys heard of
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That like the face, it has to be symmetrical
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
to be beautiful. But like, what? You know? Because if you think about it, no one is gonna be perfectly symmetric. That is just
True.
like what, right? But I just think people should really appreciate what they have, and
Yeah. I think the reason why like Koreans are more like or the Asian people are more obsessed with like proportions and stuff is because like technically no, I mean like biologically we're smaller than like Western people.
Yeah.
And
really?
yeah, so even though we're small, we kind of want to look tall. And like the method to look tall is when you have a good proportion, you know? So if you have a small face and long legs, and even if you're like 156 centimeters, if you have a good proportion, it kind of tricks other people to see
Yeah.
you as like you're 170 centimeters tall. So
Yeah.
that's why we're kind of like not like that much obsessed, but we're kind of like concentrating on how good our proportion is in general.
But thinking about that, it's kind of like trying to fit in, like belonging.
Yeah.
Because if Asians, as you say, are biologically a little smaller,
Mm-hmm.
then that means they feel like they're kind of like outcasts. So they kind of feel the need to be in the same range as other
Mhm.
people, which I think should not be a thing, but whatever.
I also
think-
yeah.
Sorry. I think maybe like these beauty standards come from like who gets famous in a place, like who and like what their style is, what they look like.
Yeah.
Like people try to follow
That's
them.
really true.
Yeah.
But also I think they get famous because of how they look sometimes. So that's kind of like
True.
Yeah. I feel like it's like human instincts to kind of like idolize the person who are,
Mm.
you know, like models. Like
Yeah.
we kind of look up to them and see
That's
their
basically the standard.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So we looked at their bodies and like how tall they are, how skinny they are, and we try to like look like her or him. So I feel like since Asian countries, like as I said before, like we're kind of smaller than other like Western people, so we kind of idolize them more. I guess
Mm.
this is a personal experience.
Yeah, and that is where I think like confidence plays in, you know, like if there's someone who's really talented and they're confident and comfortable with the way they look and the way they are, then, you know, I think they have like the ability to change the beauty standard based on how they look. And, you know, people try to look up to them more, but just because of the energy that they radiate. So,
For sure, like it really does depend also on confidence, because if someone is very insecure, you can feel it. If someone's around you and they're insecure, you can feel it, and that makes them makes you feel uncomfortable as well as them. And then it just kind of has like low frequencies, as you guys know, vibrant vibrations. So yeah, I think that really does affect someone's beauty.